There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear-facing, forward-facing? I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know. Know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I am your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council. Invest in better futures.
This is Nnamdi Asamoah. I play football for the Philadelphia Eagles, but what I do off the field with United Way might be more important. I'm a volunteer tutor and mentor. Why? Because over 1 million kids a year drop out of school, and that's not okay. It takes 12 years to create a graduate, but it takes about the same time to create a dropout. And the difference between a child becoming one or the other could be me, or it could be you. Studies show that if we get to these kids earlier, their chances are better. And kids who read well by 3rd grade are more likely to graduate. So join me in United Way. Suit up and take the pledge. Become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor. Because when a child succeeds, we all succeed. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Take the pledge at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way, the Ad Council, and the National Football League.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Broadcasting from coast to coast,
city to city, coast to coast.
It's time for the Ryan Hickey Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. If it's happening in sports, it's being talked about right here. And here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
Good Thursday morning. Welcome into the Ryan Hickey Show with you, of course, right here. Where else? On the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. We appreciate you making us a part of your Thursday morning routine right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, because we have a ton to get into. It is a Thursday, of course, which means Hickey's Pickies will commence. A tough week for your boy last week. Congratulations to Joe Pidell. A big 4-1 showing for him. He has a great Hickey's Pickies debut. Has launched up the leaderboards to number 1 in the standings. So congrats to Joe. Our celebrity guest picker is a guy I know very well. I am very excited for Greg Caserta, CBS Sports Radio and WFAN update anchor, also a play-by-play professional. He does a lot of baseball, did actually a few Mets games this year as well. And I have a surprise for Greg. There was a play-by-play call over the weekend that I heard that was, to say the least, interesting. So we'll get Greg's spin on it. If he was in this situation, how would he, a professional, call it? Because it was different. We will say that. So we'll do that in an hour or so from now, 10 o'clock Eastern. Greg Caserta will hop on, give us some of his picks, as well as talk some play-by-play as well. A lot of fun, looking forward to it. So now and then, a lot to get into. So college football, some big games this weekend. I think we learned a few lessons, not just, looking forward to this upcoming week, but also looking back. Oklahoma and Penn State as well. I'll give you 2 reasons why I think, or give you 2 lessons, I should say, that we learned going forward from, from this week. As you can see, still trying to fight this nagging cough that's been unable to evade my lungs, I guess, the last few weeks. We are working through that, though. We are working through that, and a lot to get into here for the next 2 hours. As we're with you on the Worldwide Sports Right, Eric, coming to you live, as we always are, from the Big Italy Pizzeria Studios, where it's great pizza, hot heroes, and phenomenal dinners. Make sure you check out BigItalyPizza.com to find a location near you. 15 minutes from now, the best team in the AFC. Who is it? 3 teams that have that title or competing for that title. I'll tell you who I think right now is the king of the AFC. But before that, I want to stick with the NFL. I want to kind of stick with the main story of this week, coming off, as we know, the John Gruden resignation, which came late Monday night. He is no longer the head coach of the Raiders for what he said in multiple emails when he was working at ESPN sent to Bruce Allen, the Washington football team executive, about all different things, disparaging all different types of people. It is a very good thing John Gruden is no longer employed. You cannot say the things he said in those emails and continue to have a job, continue to have your livelihood. But now spinning this forward, right? How can we take the conversation which happened on Monday? How can we make this relevant and new on Thursday? Well, the new story now and the new, angle and push now is, okay, we have some emails revealed by John Gruden. Well, those emails came from a batch of 650,000 other emails that were pulled that had to do with an investigation to the Washington football team. And now, because we see just a slight sliver of what these emails contained, whether it's Adam Schefter, right, emailing Bruce Allen, the Washington football team executive, asking him basically to edit certain stories he's writing about the lockout back in 2011. As we know, we saw the Gruden emails. But now people, everyone, rightfully so, me included, want to see the rest of the 650,000 emails that were pulled when investigating the Washington football team, because that seems like, from these small samples as we're able to see, there is a lot of bad stuff, and there are other people that should be held accountable outside of just John Gruden. There should be a lot of other backlash towards different members of different parts of the team if, which you believe to be the case, these emails contain damaging comments like we just saw in the small that were leaked. But here's the thing I'm going to say, my belief, when it comes to these emails. There is no shot, no chance we are seeing these emails released. Different groups, different media members, different lawyers are calling on the NFL, hey, release these emails. I would be floored if the NFL releases emails. I'll go as far as to say, if these emails reach the public, I think that equals Roger Goodell being fired. I think he will be fired as the commissioner of the NFL. Because here's why. These emails, right, as they were pulled into from a Washington football team investigation that took almost a year, going back to, that was started because of a Washington Post story where they interviewed many different members of the Washington football team and just wrote about the toxic work culture that has taken place there. These emails aren't just about the Washington football team. These emails aren't just about Dan Snyder. Protecting these emails, in the NFL's view, for me, is preserving all 31, if you don't count the Packers, all 31 owners from scrutiny into their own businesses. This is not about just one team. This is about really protecting the entire ownership group in the NFL. That's why I would be floored if these emails get released. That's why, to me, if these do leak their way out, Roger Goodell's head is the one that's going to roll the most, because he is in charge of doing what's best interest of the owners, and he would have failed to keep these emails internally. There's no shot, I'm telling you. I would love to see him. We absolutely should see them. There's no shot we're seeing them. So here's my belief. I do believe the NFL is in firm control of all these emails. The leaks, right, that we had, whether it was the New York Times that first broke, the Washington Post was the one that was first broke the racial remark that John Gruden made about DeMar Smith. They made the New York Times on Monday publish the other disparaging comments on John Gruden made about the gay community, that he made about women in the NFL, that he made about concussion protocol, that he specifically called out Roger Goodell about. He had a lot of different areas, a lot of different offensive things he said about all different groups of people. Guess how the Washington Post got those emails? Guess how the New York Times got those emails? For me, it's no accident that they all of a sudden kind of fell in their lap Friday and Monday. This was leaked directly from the NFL, in my opinion. Whether it's Roger Goodell, whether he wanted revenge because he saw the disparaging comments that John Gruden made about him back in 2011. And she called him some very unnice things that we will not say here. But whatever the motivation was, this was leaked directly from the NFL. And here's what I will say, though. I think the NFL, whoever leaked them, had confidence that they knew that while they will leak a few emails, there is no shot the rest of the batch will be made public. That no one will ever see the rest of the 650,000 emails that are on this server that were pulled from the Washington football team. Because even if Roger Goodell wanted on his own, right, to get revenge, because there were some nasty things said about him by John Gruden, he has to do so, to me, with the approval of the owners. Because let's not forget, Roger Goodell doesn't work for the NFL. He works for the 32 owners in the NFL. He is their spokesman. He does what's in the best interest for them. He doesn't do what's in the best interest for the game or for the players. He works directly for the ownership group. So if the owner said, no, you can't leak these emails. You can't basically get John Gruden here. You can't get a little, pound of flesh. He wouldn't be able to do it. Because the 32 owners control Roger Goodell's fate. Let's look, right? There are plenty of times that Roger Goodell could have been fired before this. The entire Ray Rice fiasco that was botched. The entire Josh Brown domestic violence issue that was blocked. That have been botched. There are plenty of issues that have brought negativity towards the NFL that Roger Goodell could have been fired for if the NFL did not like the bad PR that they were getting. But instead, the owners wisely kept him there. Because guess what? You fire Roger Goodell, guess what? There's no more human pinata basically separating the owners from the media. You're going to have to be the ones answering questions. That's what Roger Goodell basically is now to the owners. A human pinata where anytime anything is negative in the NFL, whatever it is, concussions, off the field issues, plenty of botched investigations, workplace culture. The guy that gets the heat and the scrutiny is Roger Goodell. He faces the heat. He takes the criticism so the owners don't have to. That's why for me, when you look at all the different things that have gone wrong negatively in the NFL and Roger Goodell has been the commissioner, a lot of it has been based on players, on coaches, on different off-the-field matters, but he has always been the one criticized. He has always had to be the one to answer questions that people are demanding answers from. But now when it comes to ownership, when it comes to these emails that are specifically about Dan Snyder and the Washington football team, the owners realize, even though Dan Snyder brings nothing to the table, they got to protect him. That's right. To me, Roger Goodell's job is on the line here. His first goal is to protect the owners. If there is something disparaging that gets out of one of the 32 owners in that collective little clique that they have, it's Roger Goodell's head that's the one that's on the chopping block. He's the one where his future will be ended right away. Right away. So that's why for me, this situation where we are begging and clamoring for emails to be released, I don't think there'll be any of them released. Because guess what? If these emails were to be released, and they seem to be as bad as we envision, and we got a small taste of what executives, Washington football, think about this. Bruce Allen, at the time, when he was emailing John Gruden, he was the Washington football team president. He is sending these emails from his work email. So sure, while Dan Snyder at least was not on these directly, I am sure of the fact there are plenty of disparaging emails sent from Dan Snyder, sent to Dan Snyder, that will implicate him and honestly probably force the end of his reign in Washington. It will be so bad, he will be forced to sell. Which, if you think about it, on the surface, right, would be great for everyone. He has brought nothing but negativity towards the league. So if you're another owner, in theory, okay, his ouster, I mean, you know what? There's one guy who basically brings nothing to the table. All he does is drag the NFL down, bring negativity towards the shield, which what do we always hear? Got to protect the shield. You got to protect the shield. He's the guy who brings negativity towards the shield. He's a guy who really, when you look at the Washington football team fan base, has been a guy that has brought apathy towards the NFL. He has turned one of the biggest fan bases apathetic because of how bad the Washington football team has been under his rule. He has had a very toxic work culture. He has really brought, again, nothing but negativity towards the NFL. There's no real reason on the surface to keep Daniel Snyder around. I talked about this just about a year and a half ago. I brought up, like, what is the benefit? What is the gain of having Daniel Snyder as an owner in the NFL? There are plenty of other people. There are plenty of rich folks out there that want desperately to become an owner of an NFL team. So it's not like there's no one else that would take the team over. And what does the NFL owners care about the most? The bottom line. Well, Dan Snyder, while he wasn't really hurting the bottom line, because we know the NFL is super profitable, he wasn't exactly helping it. He was doing nothing to help the brand. So again, on the surface, it would seem like the best interest for the NFL would be to get Dan Snyder out of there, bring another owner in, and try to turn the Washington football franchise around, get that passionate fan base, that national fan base back and interested. But here's the thing. While it's best for the fans, while it's best for probably every player of the Washington football team, every member and executive of the Washington football team, it's one headache removed from the NFL. Do you know who Dan Snyder's ouster isn't good for? The other owners. Because what he does is basically provide a shield to the other 30 owners in the NFL. Right? There is so much publicly wrong with the franchise. There's been so much negativity, so much criticism towards the Washington football team. When we talk about owners, Dan Snyder is always kind of the lightning rod. He's always the one we point to. Well, guess what he does, though, in terms of being a shield? He has us forget a lot of other issues that go on with other owners in the NFL. You look at Jimmy Haslam, owner of the Browns. He has some very super sketchy business practices at Pilot. He was ripping people off for years. No one really talks about that. Robert Kraft has caught him as a massage parlor in a sex trafficking ring. Kind of brushed under the rug. Jim Irsay has had issues in the past with drug and alcohol abuse. There are plenty of other skeletons in these owners' closets. But guess what? Because Dan Snyder is always kind of tripping over himself, he's always doing something negative, he basically provides a shield for the rest of the owners to say, hey, look, Dan Snyder does this wrong, this wrong, this wrong. And then we turn a blind eye and we don't really recognize the other bad issues with the other owners in the NFL. He sort of gets them off the hook from criticism. And I think if he's removed, NFL owners view it as, well, Dan Snyder got in trouble for what he does. I don't do something maybe as bad as he does, or maybe in the same way where my toxic culture is more about the main business I own, not the NFL business I own. And all of a sudden, well, if they came knocking on Dan Snyder's door and he's out, well, they could be coming to my door next. His removal sets a bad precedent for the other owners in the NFL. Again, if you are removed for having a toxic workplace culture, having harassment go through your organization, it opens the door for others then to be investigated. You heard Derek Carr say yesterday when he was talking about his reaction to the entire John Gruden news and how the team is doing. He said everyone should have their emails open and investigated. It should be an open book. And he's not wrong. But you know who will never, ever sign up for that is the other owners of the NFL, because they all have their own skeletons, their own cause that they don't want revealed. So I guarantee you, if we did a full autopsy, whether it's the main business or the NFL business of all these other owners, there'll be more owners than not be forced to sell, and we'll find more crooked ways that these guys have made their money than not. They don't want that. So guess what? They will do whatever it takes to protect Dan Snyder. The fact that this guy brings nothing to the table is meaningless to them. He basically is a guy that could be a precedent setter. And NFL owners do not want. They want to do their business. They want to make their money. They want to own the team. They don't want people poking around their own business. So guess what? How do you prevent others from snooping around? You basically have a big, giant shield, a big, giant piñata, and Dan Snyder's still around. And basically, if you're an owner, you can think, if Dan Snyder's still on his team, I'm fine. Whatever I do, it's probably not good, but whatever he does is way worse. If he still owns a team, that's good for me. That's why for me, these emails are never getting released. It will be the ultimate takedown of Dan Snyder. He'll be forced to sell the team, I think, almost immediately. And that, to me, opens the door for other owners of the NFL to get investigated. They don't want that. Think about it. The last thing I'll say to you here is this. We had a 11-month investigation into the Washington football team. 11 months. There was, again, within the part of this investigation, 650,000 emails found that seemed to be problematic in one way or another. There's a lot of information out there that was bad. Do you know the findings of that investigation? Do we have a conclusion as to how bad Daniel Snyder's workplace culture was? We have an idea. We don't have a lot of info. Why is that? Two reasons. Number one, the report, the independent investigation that was done, that was presented to the NFL, it was an oral presentation. Why is that important? Because there's no written word of what was found. There is no record officially in writing of what the findings were of Daniel Snyder's investigation into his own football team, which means nothing can get leaked out about just how bad it was. That should tell you right then and there how bad it was. If the NFL specifically made this an oral investigation to make sure nothing written was down on the record, that should tell you they knew some bad stuff happened. Some bad stuff did happen. They didn't want it in writing to get leaked. And not to mention, this was dumped, as the NFL always perfectly does, July 1st, a Thursday. Right leading into a July 4th weekend, knowing most people are checked out. Most people are getting ready for their vacation. Most people maybe even already are on the beach. Middle of the summer, right before July 4th weekend, is when this investigation was announced or concluded. Daniel Snyder, $10 million fine. His wife now is the technical or the figurehead owner. And that's about it. We're going to go on with our day. That should tell you right there, the NFL is scared of the public finding out what that investigation truly did find. There is nothing in my mind that's going to be leaked out that forces or gives us a true answer to what actually happened. Because if so, that would signal the end of Daniel Snyder. That would signal the ending and start to raise questions about other owners in the NFL they don't want. So the owners, as we've seen, and I think it's kind of coming to the forefront now, they will do whatever it takes to protect their own. Protecting the back of Daniel Snyder, in one sense, is also protecting their own back. So that's why, for me, in my mind, there is zero chance these emails get released. And if so, it's the end of Roger Goodell. I think he'll be fired right then and there. Don't be surprised. So I wish they come out. I hope they do. I think there's no shot they do. So we do return here on the Ryan Hickey Show. I do want to get into the AFC. It's been a fun first 5 weeks of the NFL season. A lot of unexpected results. The Chargers, I think, are way better than we thought. The Ravens have had a very impressive start to the season. The Bills. All three teams 4-1, all playing great football. Who's at the top of the AFC? A team we thought was at the top of the AFC, the Kansas City Chiefs. As we know, we're not in this conversation. Where are they also in terms of the ranking so far 5 weeks into the NFL season in terms of the AFC? I'll tell you that and tell you the top team in the AFC when the Ryan Hickey Show does return right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy.
Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time. It's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are true and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do. Oh, tell the world I see you. With an emoji. To stop the bullies.
Know someone who's being bullied online? Send the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more about the witness emoji at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. Feedthepig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard. So you don't need to mooch off your friends.
You gonna finish that grape?
You mean the one in my mouth?
You don't need to stop buying the necessities.
What you're smelling is a natural musk.
Ew.
You don't need to be a medical test subject.
How do you feel? Mostly okay. Sometimes, though.
You don't need to get a second job as a stuntman.
We need a new stuntman. Let's break for lunch.
You just need an internet connection. Don't get left behind. Start your personal savings plan with the tips and tools on feedthepig.org. That way, you don't need to sell your soul to the devil.
$15 is the best I can do.
All right, deal.
Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
But for you, I guess you moved on really easily. You found a new girl and it only took...
And welcome back in to the Ryan Hickey Show with you right here. Half hour from now, Greg Caserta will join us for Hickey's Picky's 8th tremendous slate of games this upcoming, both in the NFL, college. Okay, there's you got to stretch a little bit, but NFL, tremendous action. Chargers, Ravens, Browns, Cardinals, Titans, Bills. A very good week, number 6 in the NFL. I am pumped. So we'll get Greg's thoughts on all of those games half hour or so from now. But before we get there, I want to talk about the AFC conference as a whole. We are 5 weeks into the NFL season, just about a month in terms of calendar time into the year. And the AFC has been not only very competitive, I think also unpredictable. We came into this season expected the Chiefs to be the kings of the AFC. I thought, honestly, the Chiefs would have beaten the Ravens, would have beaten the Browns, would have beaten the Chargers, and would have beaten the Bills. I thought, honestly, the Chiefs would be 5-0, maybe at worst 4-1. As we know, they're 2-3. So they've been anything but predictable. They've been anything as we've gone so far. So with their downfall means the rise of teams like the Ravens, the rise of teams like the Chargers, teams we didn't expect. So now that we are here a month into the season, I'll ask you this question. Who is the best team in the AFC? Not only who right now is the king of the AFC, where do the Chiefs rank? It's been a rough start for the year. Where do they rank the Chiefs so far through 5 weeks, and who is ahead of them? So I'll tell you my rankings of the AFC. I have 4 teams to me that are the top 4 in the AFC. I have the Chiefs that are number 4. I have them ahead of teams like the Browns. I have them ahead of teams like the Titans. Because even though right now the Chiefs are not a very good team right now, right? Offensively, they've been turning the ball over a ton. Defensively, we'll get into that in a second. They have been very good. I still think their schedule is a reason why they are above teams like the Titans, who are 3-2, excuse me, and the Browns, who are also 3-2. Because even though they're 2-3, under 500, they have played, a really tough schedule. Like I said, they played the Browns opening weekend. Okay, they beat them. They lost to the Bills, the Chargers, and the Ravens. 2-3 at home, fine. But those are three of the best teams in the AFC. The Bills right now are playing unbelievable football. Same with the Chargers. So I get the Chiefs have issues and haven't looked pretty. They've also had a grueling schedule to start. So that's why for me, even though they're 2-3, even though they're under 500, they haven't played well. I still have them fourth in the AFC currently, ahead of teams like the Titans, ahead of teams like the Browns. Because like we just mentioned, offensively, they haven't been clicking, but they still can score points. Their biggest issue right now is turnovers. 7 turnovers by Patrick Mahomes in the last 4 games. Very uncharacteristic of Mahomes. As we know, he usually takes care of the ball very well. Turnovers are not a big of an issue. He doesn't fumble. He doesn't really turn the ball over. For how aggressive and how many crazy, dazzling throws he has, there's not many head-scratching throws like, what the hell is this guy looking at? Where's he throwing it to? He takes chances, but it's calculated risks where he's given Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce chances and positions to succeed to make a play, and more times than not, as we know, they do. So I think while the turnover issue has been rampant the last 4 games, I expect that to change. And really, offensively, that's the biggest bugaboo so far for the Chiefs. The offensive line has been really solid. The run game has been better than I expected, although Clyde Edwards-Helaire injury going forward now hurts that a little bit. And the passing game, they've been scoring a ton of points. They're still one of the best offenses in all the NFL. Sure, they had a bad game Sunday night against the Bills where everything went wrong, and credit to the Bills, they played a tremendous game, both offensively and defensively. I don't expect it, though, to be the norm going forward. They still score a ton. So I'm not concerned about them offensively. And defensively, I have faith, even though they have been the worst or one of the worst defenses so far up to this point. Like, they're just awful defensively. They're dead last in points per game allowed, averaging 32.6 points per game. 32.6 points per game is unheard of in the NFL. So they're dead last in points per game allowed. They're second to last in total defense. I could thank Pete Carroll and the crappy Seahawks defense for not being dead last in that category as well. So even though the defense has been horrible, the reason why I have faith is that the margin or the bar you have to climb, right, to improve isn't very high. With this offense that is still clicking, right? Patrick Mahomes is still healthy in there. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Andy Reid, those pieces are still there and flourishing. You don't need to do a lot defensively in order to turn this around. You don't have to be number 5 in defense and points per game allowed to give your team a shot. You just can't be dead last like they are. And they get to just the bottom third, right? Number 20 in the NFL, number 22 in the NFL in terms of points per game allowed, in terms of total yards per game allowed. This Chiefs team will be fine. They'll win almost any game they play because of how good their offense is. So defensively, the areas they have to improve in are basically everywhere, but the level they have to improve in is not as high as maybe we think. It's bad right now. Their goal for us season should be just don't be dead last. You can be bottom third and still win a Super Bowl with this defense. So that's why I have the Chiefs at number 4. They're scuffling. They're playing not very good football right now. I have faith going forward. They'll turn it around. And again, the margin for error is still very wide with this team. You don't have to have an elite defense. Patrick Mahomes is really the only issue they have is just turn the ball over, just cut him down a little bit. So because those 2 issues don't need to improve too much, that's why for me I have the Chiefs at number 4. Number 3, I have the Baltimore Ravens. I love what I'm seeing right now from Baltimore. They're having, and I think right now, I think it's fair to say through 5 games, I think Lamar Jackson is having an even better season this year than he is when he had an MVP season back in 2019. Because he's right now proving something to the rest of the NFL through 5 games that there was a lot of questions about, there was a lot of doubts with. He right now is winning games with his arm, which again, that was always a big question. 2019, as we know, he didn't really pass a ton. It was more of the running attack, and he was just so dynamic that the Ravens were such an elite running team that he didn't have to do a ton of the passing game, and the passing lanes were open because the running game was gashing every single team every single week. This year, though, he is winning with his arm despite or in spite of no run game. Teams know he's passing, and he is still carving up opponents with his arm in the pass game. Think about it. Right now, Lamar Jackson, a guy who the biggest doubt for him in the NFL is, can he win games with his arm? Can he win games passing the ball? He is 5th in the NFL with over 1,500 passing yards. 5th. He's always been towards the bottom, even in his MVP year. He had one of the fewest passing yards of all quarterbacks. He right now is 5th in the NFL. Again, 1,500 passing yards. That's with no run game to really worry about if you're the opponent. If you look at his first 5 games, right? Each game, incrementally, his passing yards have increased, while at the same time, incrementally, the team rushing yards have decreased. So the less success the Ravens have had running the ball, the more success Lamar Jackson has had passing the ball. That's unheard of. That's really an inverted way of how it should work. The run game should be better, so you think the passing game should be better. Instead, it's been the opposite. The Ravens have become more one-dimensional, and the better Lamar Jackson has played. Now, I get it's always a dangerous game to play when it comes to pace. Oh, he had a great game. He's on pace to throw for 1,000,000 yards, right? It's always dangerous because the sample size is so small. And usually, if you have a good game or two, it's hard to keep that up over a full season. But we're going to do so for you to prove a point. Lamar Jackson, like I just mentioned, 1,590 passing yards through 5 games. If he continues that pace through 17 games, he is on pace to throw for over 5,100 yards. That's important and that's impressive because that would be 2,000 yards more than any passing season Lamar Jackson has had. Think about that. His current career high in passing yards is about 3,000. He would throw for over 2,000 more yards if he remains on a similar pace to what he's on now. So he's not just shattering his previous passing woes and his previous passing records. He's obliterating them. He has become a more redefined passer, we've really ever seen. Even just the Colts game, I think, is a perfect example of this. As much as it pains me to watch it as a Colts fan watching that game, he made history and becoming the first quarterback, the only quarterback in NFL history. Tom Brady didn't do it. Peyton Manning didn't do it. Aaron Rodgers didn't do it. Drew Brees didn't do it. Joe Montana. Any great quarterback you want to list off here and rattle off. There's a passing Dan Marino. Lamar Jackson is in a class by himself to be the only quarterback in NFL history in a game throw for over 400 yards, attempt more than 40 passes, and complete 85% of his passes. He was carving the Colts up, did so passing the ball frequently, and did so pass the ball by rarely throwing an incomplete pass. He has killed teams with his arm, and I think this is sustainable going forward. So the Ravens are definitely a team going forward that I think is going to be one of the best in the NFL, one of the best in the AFC. I have them currently at number 3 in the AFC in large part because of how Lamar Jackson has played. The defense hasn't been very good. The run game has been non-existent. The offensive line has been, they've been banged up, and it's Lamar Jackson leading the way with his arm. That's been the most impressive part of this. So the Chiefs still at number 4 in terms of ranking the top teams in the AFC. Ravens at number 3. I have the Bills at number 2. I have the Buffalo Bills at number 2. Now, to their credit, they have played very well in 2 areas I didn't expect coming to the season. Run game and defense. When you look at the run game, or really lack thereof, in previous years, Buffalo has turned that around. This year, they're 5th in the NFL, averaging just about 140 rushing yards per game. They were in the bottom half of rushing yards as of 2020. It got to the point where it was basically a Josh Allen-led offense where he had to do it all. He had to pass the ball. The run game really was kind of built off of his scrambling ability. It was similar to the Ravens. Now, where it's the Lamar Jackson show, last year was the Josh Allen show. And to his credit, he had a tremendous career year. Top 3 in the MVP. But he had so much on his shoulders. There was a lot of pressure and a lot of stress on Josh Allen every week to be at his best. But now, even though the personnel is basically the same, whether it's the offensive line, whether it's the running backs, they have been able to establish the run, which again has made Josh Allen's life so much easier. He hasn't had to do much. Even the first 5 games, he's put up some impressive numbers of points. But he really, outside of the Washington football team game and this Chiefs game, he hasn't really done a ton, which is not a knock. It's actually probably what you want if you're Buffalo. You don't want the entire offense riding on Josh Allen's right arm. You don't ask him to do too much and put him in harm's way by having him basically establish the run and do it on the pass game. He has gotten a tremendous amount of help so far that has carried the offense, that has brought balance to the offense, which makes Josh Allen's life even easier than it is right now. So the run game, I have not expected. They have been tremendous so far, one of the best in the NFL. And defense. Not that Buffalo's defense was bad last year. Not that they were, an issue like right now Kansas City's is. But I did not see them becoming so far one of the best defenses, the best defense, you can make the argument, in the NFL. They are number 1 in the NFL in total defense, number 1 in scoring defense, allowing just 12.8 points per game. Now, before we get crazy, I will say a large part of this has because they've played pretty brutal teams. Steelers, offensive, we know, stink. Texans have no offensive game. The Washington football team is up and down. Taylor Heineke is a baller. He also makes a lot of mistakes. The Dolphins, that game, they played with Tua Tagovailoa for 2 series, and then it was the Jacoby Brissett show. You didn't have a chance there. The biggest game of the year for the Bills was the Chiefs game. The most impressive part of that game for me was how the Bills defense played to shut down Patrick Mahomes. They clicked on all cylinders. They got after Mahomes. They stuffed the run game. They shut down Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. They did a tremendous, tremendous job defensively locking them down. So I've been impressed in 2 years that I thought were going to be weaknesses coming in. The reason why I have the Bills at number 2 right now, not number 1, I currently am not exactly sold that can continue. When the level of competition increases, can the run game still have the same success they have now? Can the defense be as locked down as they have been? I don't think the answer is yes. Now, I don't think they'll regress to bad levels per se, but they were average defensively in 2020, and they were bottom at half the NFL in terms of run game. I think it will regress a little bit closer to where they'll be better than they were in 2020, but not as good as they are right now. Bills have been tremendous. I just want to see when you play, outside of the Chiefs, some better teams. I just mentioned the Steelers, Texans, Washington football team, Dolphins. Some of the worst teams in the NFL. Let's see it against the consistently good schedules they will have coming up. We'll truly see. But so far, they passed the one test, the biggest test they had so far in the Chiefs. But I do have the Chargers here at number 1 for 2 reasons. 1, because of the way they're playing right now, which is tremendous. 2, who else have they beaten? I know college football is more of a resume test. Oh, who have you beaten? Where the NFL, you just win games. That's all that matters. But when it comes to ranking the teams, the best teams in the NFL, I'll stick schedule and resume into account. That, to me, is why the Chargers are the best. How they're playing and who they played. Because how they're playing, to me, is super, super impressive. They've been able to flip the narrative, the chargering, if you will, narrative of the past few years, where they are a good team with talent, but they always find ways to lose. Whether it's offensively not coming through, defensively not getting the stop they need, special teams missing kicks when they have to, coaching, Andy Thielen making some mind-boggling play calls, having some poor clock management. There have been all different areas in which the Chargers have lost games in years past. This year, though, when new head coach Brandon Staley with Justin Herbert into year number 2 now, they have found ways to win games. They have been finding new and innovative ways to close out games that in the past they were losing. Whether it was the Chiefs game, making clutch plays offensively, the Raiders game, making some big plays defensively to not allow the Raiders get back into the game, or the Browns game where both made plays offensively and got the stops defensively, they have found winning plays. They have made the winning plays to get right now to 4-1 on the season. It all starts with Justin Herbert, right? When you have a stud, as Brandon Staley called him after the game, superstar quarterback, that makes winning these games so much easier. He has been phenomenal this year, right? 13 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He really picked up where he left off in 2020. Coming into the year, I did not pick the Chargers to be a playoff team. In part, we kind of see it. You do have these quarterbacks with solid rookie years hit a wall in year number 2. The tape is out there. Defensive coordinators spent all offseason long game planning for how to stop them. And usually year number 2 is, trying to adjust to the adjustments, seeing schemes and defense you've never seen before. So far, Justin Herbert has really had no step back. If anything, he's taken a step up from 2020. He's made all the throws. He has been super impressive in how well he has played so far in his second year. The defense, some games they've been lights out, other games they've been lit up. But the common thread so far defensively of this team is that when the big stop is needed, when you need your defense to hold on a drive, keep the other team out of the end zone, get a 3-and-out, get the ball back, they have done so. They got 2 huge stops against the Browns to keep Baker and co. out of the end zone, despite the fact they gave up 42 points and were torched all game long. They got the 2 stops in the end they needed to win the game. The Raiders game, up 21-0. All of a sudden, here come the Raiders coming back 21-7, 21-14. What happens? They get a stop, they get an interception, the offense gets the ball back, and they get the play or two needed to win the game. The Chiefs, in the end, got the big stop after the Chargers scored a late clutch touchdown to take the lead to preserve the win. Offensively, they made plays. Defensively, they made plays. And head coach, Brandon Staley, has done a tremendous job in being a leader, being super aggressive, and he has instilled a belief into this team that they can win. I think that's part of it. It's, as corny and cheesy as it sounds, you have to believe you can win. Joey Bosa talked about it after the Raiders game. At halftime in previous years when he was on the Raiders team or on the Chargers teams, the prevailing thought was, how are we going to lose this game this time? We've done it so many times. I've seen this script. We have a great first half, great 3 quarters, and we always find a way to blow it. How's it going to happen this week? Now, that belief is gone. They believe they can win. They go into games expecting to win. And that energy, that belief is contagious. So for me, the Chargers are the best team right now in the AFC. They are number 1 if we had power rankings in the AFC because of how they're playing and who they have beaten. Chargers have beaten the Chiefs on the road, Browns at home. 2 of the best teams in the AFC. Better resume right now than the Bills. Better resume than the Ravens. To me, the Chargers are the top team in the AFC. So we have the top 4 teams in the AFC. Chiefs 4, Ravens 3, Bills 2, Chargers number 1. I'm curious your thoughts. Plenty of different ways to get involved here. Listen to the show, contribute to the show. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Twitter, WWSRN_radio is our Twitter handle. WWSRN_radio. At Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter. Very simple. Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter is where you can tweet us. Check out the live stream of the show right there on those Twitter handles as well. Comment on the live stream on Twitter. Nice and easy. Who is the best team in your mind in the AFC? I gave you my thoughts. I'd love to hear yours. And when we do return here, I do want to talk a little baseball. Game 5 tonight between the Giants and Dodgers has been a very fun series. And it has me thinking so far, what we've seen through the MLB postseason. Is it the best playoffs in all of professional sports? I'll tell you my answer. The Ryan Hickey Show does return right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Do current market conditions have you nervous? Our experienced team of financial professionals at Heritage Harbor Financial Associates understands that no 2 investors are alike. We all have different goals, needs, and appetites for risk. That's why the one-size-fits-all approach does not work, especially when planning for retirement. At Heritage Harbor Financial Associates, we analyze your unique investment style so that you can work toward your individual retirement goals on your terms. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates can help you take steps to reach your retirement goals by providing a wide array of financial products to fit your needs, even for the risk adverse. Give us a call at 631-331-6599 to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stock, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value and market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors, LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC, annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network, LLC.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit them online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next-door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your fly. Socks go on first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Less than 10 minutes from now, Greg Caserta of CBS Sports Radio, of WFAN, and play-by-play of multiple different baseball affiliates, including a few games of the New York Mets, will join us here. We have a surprise for Greg. In case you missed it, Alabama. Now that you missed this part, Alabama losing to Texas A&M, but Alabama's radio call of the final kick, or the winning kick for Texas A&M, was an all-timer. It was something, as a sports fan, as someone who's listened to the radio for my entire 27 years, I've never heard before. But since Greg is a play-by-play guy himself, I would love to get his rendition of how he would call a devastating moment for his team. So we will get that in a few minutes from now. But before there, I do want to quickly discuss MLB postseason. Game number 5 is tonight. Giants-Dodgers. I rolled the Giants at home. Logan Webb back on the mound, the best pitcher for the Giants all season. Pitched tremendously in game number 1. Giants have been a team that, honestly, I have doubted all season long. I kept waiting for them to come back down to earth. Kept waiting for the Dodgers to catch them and run away at the NL West. They have not done so. So maybe, Giants fans, if you're listening, I'm sure you won't be happy with this since I basically mushed your team the entire year. I think it's time to reward how well the Giants have played. I'm believing in them. I think they get the win tonight. But also on top of just that game, I love postseason baseball. My team has not really been in as a Mets fan that often, but I still watch almost every game and I still get into it. Because for me, the MLB postseason is the best. As a neutral fan most years, I still get into it. I still kind of feel the intensity and the tension with every pitch. And that for me, there's 2 reasons for that. And 2 reasons why MLB, to me, is better than the NFL postseason, better than the NBA or the NHL postseason. It's because the MLB postseason is quick And there's truly any team can win. There's parity and there's unpredictability. Like, I think the quick nature of baseball playoffs, and what I mean by quick is there's an elimination game right away. The playoffs start with a bang, wild card, AL wild card, NL wild card. One team's going home right away. So you start automatically with a high intensity winner go home game that you don't get in the NHL, they don't get in the NBA. So right away you have drama off the bat with two teams whose season is continuing, whose season is advancing. But even then you go past that. The ALDS, the NLDS. I like the 5-game series. Excuse me. It's short, it's quick. Again, it brings intensity right away. So even though you have 5 games, your season has ended game 1 or game 2, you still have that intensity in the third inning of game 1 that this is an important batter. 2 outs, runner on second base. This is an important batter for the defense to get out. This is an important batter for the runner to drive in. Like, it's just palpable intensity that is not manufactured. It's real. You get to the point in the postseason, which to me is a favorite, where you have fundamentals that are ignored all season long, right? The analytics gurus will say, forget about bunting, forget about, knocking the run over. It's all about hitting home runs. It's all about launch angle. It's all about, trying to get as many runners in at a time. But when you come to postseason baseball, it's different. All of a sudden, sacrifice bunts are super important. Sac flies are like gold. Even moving the runners over with the ground out. Runner on second, no one out. You grind out to the second baseman, move them from second to third. Fans are going crazy. They're giving you a standing ovation going back to the dugout. Your teammates are excited. It's the small things that truly get people excited or into it. So the fact that, you go from 1 game to 5 games, 7 games, from the wild card to the DS to the ALCS or NLCS, it goes by quick. You have 1 month of playoff baseball. Whereas again, NBA and NHL, you get too much, a little bit dragged out. It's fun and exciting, don't get me wrong. But it does go on for a while. It does feel like it's sometimes is a drag. Where with baseball, it's just, here we go. Elimination games right away. These 5-game series can get over quick. And now we're already ready for the ALCS and the NLCS. So I get the only sport that can push back on that is the NFL, right? Because every weekend in the playoffs, someone's going home. Right? There's no series in the NFL. The reason why, though, MLB still gets the nod, in my opinion, over the NFL is parity. Truly, anyone can win. And guess what? The numbers bear that out. Since 1969, only 13 teams, ready for this? 13 teams since 1969, which, if we're going to go by full season, not counting 2020, have won the World Series after having the best record in Major League Baseball. You can bump that up to 14 if you count the Dodgers last year in a shortened season. So that's it. Just 13 times in 50 years has a team with the best record in the regular season won the World Series. That's such a small chance. That truly shows you, it doesn't matter what you do in the regular season. Anyone can go home. We already just saw that. We saw that in the ALDS. The Red Sox, coming off the wild card game, which had eliminated the Yankees, knocked the Rays out in 4 games. The 100-win Rays, best record in the AL, one of the deepest teams in all baseball. Team coming off the World Series last year, and even though they traded Blake Snell and made some other moves, have gotten better this year. They were gone just like that to a Red Sox team that was scuffling. The midway through the year, halfway, 3/4 of the year, we didn't think was even going to make the playoffs. They finished the Rays at 8 games ahead of Boston in the final standings, and the Red Sox knocked them out just like that. Tonight, I know it's an anomaly a little bit because of the way the division works, but you're going to have either a 107-win Giants team or a 106-win Dodgers team not even make the NLCS. One of the 2 best teams in the NL will not be in the NLCS. So again, I just like it because there's so much drama, there's so much anticipation, and there's so much parity in playoff baseball that you really can't get in any other sport. So for me, I think it adds up to baseball being the best postseason in all sports. Do you agree? Is there a postseason, NFL, NBA, NHL, that is better than MLB's? Love to hear your thoughts. We'll get them. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network, Twitter, WWSRN_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter as well. When we do come back here in a few minutes, Greg Caserta will join us for Hickey's Pickies. I got a little surprise for Greg as well. We'll have some fun with him, get some picks. We'll do that when the Ryan Hickey Show does return on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Do current market conditions have you nervous? Our experienced team of financial professionals at Heritage Harbor Financial Associates understands that no two investors are alike. We all have different goals, needs, and appetites for risk. That's why the one-size-fits-all approach does not work, especially when planning for retirement. At Heritage Harbor Financial Associates, we analyze your unique investment style so that you can work toward your individual retirement goals on your terms. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates can help you take steps to reach your retirement goals by providing array of financial products to fit your needs, even for the risk adverse. Give us a call at 631-331-6599 to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stock, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC. Annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network LLC.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome back into the Ryan Hickey Show with you right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Always a blast, always a lot of fun here to welcome in a guest on Hickey's Pickies. Always a lot of fun here. And we welcome in a play-by-play extraordinaire, a professional man whose voice you have heard on CBS Sports Radio, on WFAN, on countless baseball broadcasts throughout the entire North American landscape. Also, a man who has called many Mets games in his career. Unfortunately, I feel bad for you, Greg, because it's, I'm sure, a lot of bad calls for you.
Oh, that's pretty special.
But we appreciate you as we get some technical difficulties out of the way. There we go. Greg Caserta, what's up, man?
Only a professional would get the pop-up ad creep into the background. So,
Hick,
it is good to be with you. I know you were desperate for a guest today, so
yes.
You went to the very back of the Rolodex, and obviously I'm always available to pinch hit. So it is good to see you, my friend. Long overdue. We hadn't seen each other in quite some time prior to a couple of weeks ago, so it's good to be back with you, and it's great to see the hair being as coiffed as it always is today.
Well, you know, I like you said, we do a lot of things unprofessionally here on the Ryan Hickey Show. So I figured I had to class it up a little bit with your presence coming on here, that we got to make this, make it like at least presentable. Like this is a show that kind of knows what they're doing now. Again, the pop-up ads, that just kind of shows you we can't pretend we're fakers here. We can't do things correctly. That's why we bring the true professionals on the show. Speaking of true professionals, Greg, like we just mentioned, you are a play-by-play extraordinary. You are a man who not only calls a ton of games, who not only gives world award-winning updates on both CBS Sports Radio and WFAN, you are a man who's called professional games with the Mets. So fair to say you're a professional.
Yeah, I think that cemented it. I think after 10 years of being in the minors before I made my major league debut this past June, I think now I can finally say that I've made it. You and I talked about that a little bit when we last caught up. And yeah, called 2 Mets games back in June. Hopefully more to come. Did a game with MLB Network in August. And we got the Arizona Fall League right around the corner. So that's in the cards potentially these next couple of weeks. So we'll see what happens, man. But, in the meantime, fall sports are here now. So I've got a men's soccer game today, a Division I college soccer game today, and I'll spare you the rest of my resume. So,
wow.
You know me, my play-by-play is my passion. It's what
yes.
I've devoted my my career to. It's what I happen to be the best at, I think. No disrespect to my updates and my other skill sets, but play-by-play is where it's at for me. So that's the primary focus.
Well, I didn't realize you had a game today, so we appreciate you carving out a few minutes of your busy Monday morning or Thursday morning here with us here. So
I'd rather be doing this than calling soccer.
Wow, well, we won't tell the two teams that are going to play today.
I'm not a soccer fan, but
I hope your bosses are not listening, because maybe that could get reassigned real quick here.
No shot.
But I figure, why don't we get you warmed up here? If you got a game coming up in a few hours, I want to tap into your expertise. So
Okay.
I really hope you did not hear this call, but I'm sure you saw what happened in Alabama, Texas A&M over the weekend, right? Alabama goes down, a game-winning field goal for A&M. Now, have you heard the Alabama side of how that call went down?
I haven't heard any of those calls.
Thank God. Okay. I want to play for you how the Alabama radio call, mind you, how the Alabama radio call for the game-winning Texas A&M kick went down. Then, if possible, maybe I'd love to hear your call, how you would call just a heartbreaking, gut-wrenching call for your home team. So are you ready to hear how it sounded on Alabama radio as a Texas A&M kick went through the uprights?
Is this coming from the great Eli Gold, the long time? Okay, let's hear it.
Yes, this is we're just going to play it and we'll get your reaction to it. Here it is.
Okay.
Well, the league is going to get themselves $250,000 because everybody who does not have a seat and those who did have now flooded the field. What happens?
So there's it over again. So he starts it with what happens. There's 30 seconds of silence on the radio, mind you, before saying everyone has stormed the field. There's no the kick is up. There is no the kick is good. There is no Alabama lost. That 30 seconds I played you of just the crowd going crazy is unedited. That is literally it starts. I will play the beginning for you one more time here as it kind of got cut off a little bit. This is the big time production we got going on here. There we go.
What happens?
So he says what happens. We'll see what happens. You can kind of hear the kick right off the foot, and then 30 seconds of silence. So he chose to discuss and call a debilitating loss in silence on the radio. Greg, could we maybe get you in the mindset here? You are the Alabama play-by-play man. You're coming off a national championship, mind you, last year, a great year, a ton of success for Alabama, as we know, throughout their illustrious time under Nick Saban. How would you, as the Alabama play-by-play man, describe Texas A&M lining up for the field goal? So 37-yard field goal, 3 seconds left. Could we get a mock Greg Caserta heartbreak call here if possible?
All right, so it'll be Smith from 37, ball on the left hash. This one to kick the Aggies to an upset over the number one team in the country. College Station jumping around. The snapper, Wilson, whatever, last name.
Joe Smith on the hold.
Thompson, the holder. Here's the snap, kick on its way. It's got a chance, end over end, and it's through. The Aggies have upset the Crimson Tide. Down goes the number one team in the country, and they storm the field at College Station. Another thrilling upset this weekend in college football, and it's the Aggies over the Crimson Tide on the 37-yard field goal in the closing seconds from Wilson.
There we go. That's why you're a professional.
I don't know.
Would you be cursing like sometimes you get the homer calls?
And here's the thing too. Like I'm doing this as an exercise. I'm sure there would be a lot of disappointment in my voice, but you got to say something. I honestly was going to say, when you started that clip, I was going to say, Hick, I'm not hearing anything. And then I didn't see any sort of panic on your face. And I realized like, oh boy, this is it. He didn't say anything.
30 seconds. Now it's a little tough because again, the the video we had, it just it just says we'll see what happens. So you don't really get the build up to it. So you're in the moment when you first hear it, it's be like, is there just a glitch? And like, what? There's must be something wrong. There's a video of the booth. He's just sitting there. He's writing some notes. The color guy at one point looks over like, I'm gonna say anything that the kick is again, mind you, we're on radio. They can't see if you're in the car driving somewhere in Alabama, you can't see what happened. You just hear the crowd reaction. You have an idea. Okay, it's at A&M. Everyone's screaming. You have no clue.
There are some great compilations online of sad Hawk Harrelson. You probably remember Hawk doing the White Sox games. And I think there was probably a stretch of 2 or 3 years where they put together Hawk's best calls. And it was him just totally deflated to a White Sox loss. Now, he could get away with it because with the visual element, you could go quiet for 30 seconds. You've got the images telling the story. On radio, I mean, you've worked in the business. Like, isn't there a thing where you need to have some sort of noise in the background, or after 10 seconds, it goes to
you get like a sound alarm.
It's like the emergency alert or something like that. So
people think you're off the air. They might have got the commercial at Alabama.
I know they were picking up the crowd mic in College Station, but man, oh man, Eli's an old pro. He's been doing it for a long time. I know that there was a lot of shock and disappointment and surprise, but give me something. You don't even have to show any emotion. Just say, kick up, good. A&M wins. That's it.
Are you an emotional guy? Because you work for teams, so it's when you're a national broadcaster, it's different because you're supposed to be a neutral voice and you have excitement for the team that wins. As a play-by-play man for a certain team, you are allowed. This is just me talking. You're the professional.
Yeah.
Like you're allowed a little bit more leeway to show emotion, good or bad. The moments, kick is good. Like you can have some depression. Are you one of those guys that things, your team lose on a walk-off home run? It's high, it's far, it's gone.
Yeah, I think there's that balance because I think as time's gone on, what I've learned is that you're still trying to convey the emotions of the fan.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when you see something amazing, you have to react to that accordingly. I've always been amazed when I hear you hear different major league calls of a walk-off or a game winner. You hear the home side and it's just total craziness and oh my God. And then sometimes you hear the road side and it's, man, ball game's over. It's like, don't you have any, is your heart beating? Like, are you not seeing the same thing? And again, I understand there has to be a level of disappointment and you can't just be jumping out of your shoes because then you're being accused of being against the team. But to me, like, Jesus, dude, you got to pulse, like react to what you're seeing. It's okay.
I love that.
It's okay to get excited. Like, it's fun. This is fun. This isn't serious.
I love the depression. I love you can hear
I do too.
The slamming of the desk if something goes bad or throwing or oh my God, I can't believe this. They lost the game. There's a great Florida State call where the guy's screaming. I can't believe it. And then you could hear audibly the headset just gets tossed. This is the analyst, so you get away with that. But
with football too, I've noticed that the analysts, they step on the play-by-play guy way more than any other sport, and it's not even close. Like, I think who is it with the Patriots? Scott Zolak or whatever his name is.
Yes.
Like, there isn't one Patriots highlight where he doesn't jump in on the call. And I will say that, listen, as a play-by-play guy, everybody's got like these little quirks and these little pet peeves. And I'm sure that these guys that they've worked together long enough, you get used to it and you kind of get through all that kind of stuff. But that really affects the overall call. Mac Jones back to pass. He's got him wide open in the end zone. Oh, he's there. Look out. And it's like, you shut up.
Do you give a look? So do you give him the side eye? Like, do you mouth like WTF?
No, I don't think so. I think you're so
the ego's not there for that?
Nah, because you're so focused on the play and trying to do your job that you probably don't even notice it until maybe listening after the fact. I think while it's happening, you're so caught up in the emotion of what's happening that you don't even notice it. But that's one thing that drives me absolutely nuts about NFL play-by-play on the radio. And it's college, NFL, it don't matter. Where the analyst is the star. like the formula with football, especially on the radio, is play-by-play guy describes roughly, I don't know, 10 to 15 seconds of action. Yeah, there'll be 3rd and 5 coming up. And then as soon as that happens and they're resetting the clock and getting ready in the formation, that's where your analyst jumps in. So the analyst is always the star, especially with football on the radio. It's like, dude, shut up for 3 seconds.
Wow. Can we ever get you to the point, maybe, you have to have like Jim Nantz security or something like this, but can we ever get you to the point on record here? If you are whoever, play forever, can we get you a little, maybe shut up to an analyst? Let me have my moment, damn it.
Yeah.
We gotta get some play-by-play, like guys pushing back. Zolak, sit down for a second. Let me do my thing.
I've heard of, not necessarily in play-by-play, but I've heard of, I heard a story years ago about Gene Simmons of KISS.
Okay.
And he was doing the rounds, hawking some of his KISS stuff, the coffin or the KISS cruise or whatever. And I guess somebody on the air with him was talking, and Gene, to make sure that this person stopped talking, like gently put his hand on his arm as if to say, like he gave him one of those. So I think that would be more effective. It's like this subtle sort of one of these.
Right.
Because if somebody put their hand on your arm, it's almost like a parent telling you, like, shh, mommy's on the phone, like, keep it down. If somebody did that to me, I'd be like, oh, man, I should really shut up.
Wow. Okay.
So I think that passive-aggressive thing would probably work better than just the outward, would you please shut up? I'm talking here.
I'm calling the damn game.
Right, because then people hear you acting like a psychotic person with an ego.
True.
If you give them like the subtle, like, shh, then it's nobody knows. It's between the two of you, but he knows exactly what's going on.
So you never had to do that so far?
No, I've never done it. I mean, there was a recent broadcast I did where I noticed after the fact that a lot of the big calls that happened, my partner, who I had never worked with before, was just excited and would just jump in on the call. And I didn't notice it until after the game. Like, I listened back to the broadcast after thinking that the broadcast went really well, and it did. It was a great broadcast. But then when you listen back to the big plays and the highlights, it happened every single time. And I think that, again, I didn't think anything of it as it was happening, but I do think that it affects the overall product in the end.
All right. Well, I am very excited for you to just give the little arm reach. Although we probably won't ever hear it, but or ever see it. But there we go, Greg. The play-by-play guys fighting back. You guys got to, kind of join up together, push the analysts to the side, the former jocks. Get in your place. This is my space right now. Let me do my thing. Let's go. Let's go. Well, Greg, we appreciate you kind of role-playing with us here, getting warmed up for the game later tonight. You ready to make some picks?
I am. And I actually put a lot of thought into this. I got your picks yesterday and gave it some thought. And yeah, for something that you and I talked about, I'm feeling confident in these picks.
Love that.
Normally I don't, but I got a good feeling about these.
Well, not to psych out a little bit, but I will say the person we had on last week, my friend Joe, he so far set the bar the highest. He went 4-1 last week. So he right now is
what does Joe do for a living? You didn't give a last name. You didn't give a title. Nothing.
Joe Pidell. He's actually a lawyer.
Okay.
Currently. Okay. So not in the sports industry, not in the sports field. My girlfriend last year won the picks 5-0. She doesn't pay attention. She didn't know even half the teams existed that she was picking. So maybe it pays to not be in sports to do this. But I like the confidence you're coming in with. I believe in you. You're fired up. You're going 5-0. You're going to take the leaderboard after this week. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Let's start in college football. Biggest game of the week, we'll say, which kind of shows the slate we have. Number 11, Kentucky, going on the road to face number 1, Georgia. Number 11 versus number 1. You wouldn't think the spread would be that big of a number. It is massive. Kentucky on the road is getting 23 points. Wowza. Greg, can Kentucky keep it with three touchdowns? They get a win right here and cover the spread. Can they keep it within 3 touchdowns? Or are you going to take the dogs to cover that massive 23 number?
I got Kentucky in this one. And I'm saying that because not that Georgia can't beat them, by 3 touchdowns. I think they can. But I think that Georgia first week as the number one, I think it would just be too easy to say, okay, they're just going to walk away and win this game by at least 23. I think that with all the craziness that we've seen in the top 10 and across the top 25 the last 2 weeks, I think that if you're picking this game, I think it would be kind of silly to go Georgia that high. Their defense is the best in the country. I know you've been on them for a while with their defense. I think that Kentucky has shown that they're tough. I mean, the win 2 weeks ago against Florida kind of showed that. So I don't think that they're going to make this a one-score game, but do I think they'll keep it within the 23? There's no doubt.
Fool me once, shame on you. Right? Fool me twice, shame on me. Arkansas, Georgia a few weeks ago was a spread. I think it was 18.5. And I remember sitting here during Hickey's Picky saying, I'm not a betting man. I don't bet any money. But if I did, I would have put a large sum of money on Arkansas to cover. That's a massive number. I don't really trust Georgia's offense to be that explosive. This is guaranteed to be a close game. I don't know what Vegas is looking at. Final score is 37-0. You fooled me there once. I'm not getting fooled again. I will take the points and I will lay them with Georgia. 23 is a massive number. And I'm probably a fool and an idiot to do so. But you know what? I saw it once and I was burned. I'm not going to get burned again. I will take Georgia minus 23 in this game. Their defense, like you mentioned, is unworldly. And I'm just going to trust that, you know what? Kentucky's had a great season. Been a fun year so far. Got some good wins over LSU and Florida. I think Georgia's in a whole other breed. And again, getting burned once, I'm not going to do it again. I will take Georgia minus 23. Wow. All right. Another top 25 matchup of college football. Number 12, Oklahoma State on the road at number 25, Texas. Now the Pokes, the Cowboys, Oklahoma State getting 5.5 points on the road at Texas. As we know, Texas blew a 27 lead last week to Oklahoma in that a wild 55-48 loss that the Longhorns had suffered. Greg, where are you going here, man?
Again, this one I didn't think about too much. Kentucky and Georgia, I kind of went back and forth on. This one, I'm going OK State. I know the game's being played in Austin, but again, we've seen it before with this Texas team where it's one step up, a step and a half back. I think Oklahoma State wins this game, and I think that they more than cover the 5.5. I just think that, these games, having seen enough of these scores, I think it's going to be high scoring. I think it will come down to some key possessions late. But I don't see Texas having a statement win like this because we've seen them before, and especially at home. It seems like they've had some games at home the last few years, big games in the Big 12 that they just haven't been able to put away, and I don't see this one ending any differently.
I feel bad for you because we're on the same wavelength there, so that's never a good thing. You never want to be on the same side as me, but I will say I'm with you there. Oklahoma State, it's tough because I don't really know what kind of team they are. They've been like you'd expect. Mike Gundy-led offense is going to be firing all cylinders. They really haven't. They've been actually really good on the defensive end. They've had a few close calls with like Tulsa and a few other like FCS schools that shouldn't have been close contests, but then they beat Kansas State. They beat Baylor. It's like a weird team this year for Oklahoma State. It's not what we're used to. With that said, to your point, we kind of know who Texas is. They've had big games in the past, especially at home, that they've fallen short in. You give me 5.5 points on the road for Oklahoma State, I'll take it. I think it's going to be a very close game. I think the Cowboys do win. I'm with you there. But I'll take the risk that, you know what, even if Texas wins, I think it's going to be a very, very close game. I'll take the Cowboys plus 5.5. So we're both on Oklahoma State plus 5.5 on the road at Texas. You're going Kentucky plus 23. I will take Georgia minus 23. Let's get to the NFL here, Greg. Chargers at Ravens. Tremendous game here. Game in Baltimore. Chargers getting 3 points on the road. Where are you going in this one?
I'm taking the home team. I think if this game was being played in LA, I might look at it a little bit differently. But I think that right now, you've got two unreal quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson's the front runner for MVP right now, based on what he's doing, not just on the ground. We always knew he could run, but what he's doing passing this year has been off the charts. I think that Baltimore has defied expectations. I think that they're going to be the first team to slow down this Chargers offense, which has been really good with Justin Herbert. I think that each week we're expecting Justin Herbert to maybe run into a bump in the road. He hasn't, but I think this is the week where the Ravens can shut down Mike Williams, force them to go short with Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler. I got the Ravens this one at the -3.
I will go with the Chargers here. They've been playing some great football. So, I think to me, they're currently right now the best team in the NFL with just how they're playing and who they've beaten. Big wins over the Browns last week. They've gotten a win over the Chiefs a few weeks ago. The Ravens have been playing tremendous. We saw Monday Night Football, unfortunately, firsthand, for me, especially as a Colts fan, how good Lamar Jackson played. With that said, I think it's going to be a close game, and I do trust the Chargers defense. Get one stop. I don't really trust the Ravens defense right now. The Colts had their way offensively. They went up and down the field. They scored, I don't say a ton of points. They scored 25 and still wasn't enough. But they weren't able to convert in the red zone. I think the Chargers are a better red zone team than the Colts. I think they will convert the field goals the Colts kicked into touchdowns that the Colts were unable to do. I think the Chargers on the road here, keeping the good vibes going. They win, but also do get cover with the 3 points they are getting. How about the Cardinals at the Browns? Another West Coast team going east. Cardinals only NFL team left that's undefeated. It's getting 3 points on the road at Cleveland. Tough game here. Where are you going?
I got the Cardinals. I think that right now the record speaks for itself. I don't know if they're necessarily the best team in the NFL right now, but their record shows that they are. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's Baker Mayfield, or maybe it's just losing DNA in Cleveland, but I just don't think they show up for this game. I think that the Cardinals were held down last week. I think that this offense is too good and too explosive with Kyler to have another letdown in terms of points scored this week. I know they're going into Cleveland. I know the Browns can control time of possession because of their running game, but I got the Cardinals this one with the +3.
This, I think, is the hardest game for me to pick, to be honest, here, Greg, because it's
Definitely.
You're right. I'm going to go with the Browns. I'm going to do it. I'll go with the Browns at home, in part because what you mentioned, the run game right now is really, it's elite. It is tremendous how good they're able to run the ball with both Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. I think ball control and ball control, time possession will be a huge factor. You don't want Arizona getting the ball, like you said, with a high-powered offense. I don't say concerned. I was intrigued last week with how the offense was bogged down against the 49ers. I think that's just something to watch. But I will take the Browns here at home, -3. Close game. They'll feel great about laying the points, but I think this is the game. You mentioned the losing DNA. I think this is the game that the Browns finally do win. They lost to the Chiefs in a close fashion. They lost to the Chargers in a close fashion. The Browns are a really damn good team. I think this is the win that they do get against a really good team that kind of has people believing again. Final game of the NFL slate, Bills at Titans. Bills giving 5.5 points here. Which way are you going?
I'm going Buffalo off that dominant win on Sunday Night Football to go into Arrowhead and destroy the Chiefs, especially in the second half. They made that game a laugher, and I think that they're just going to put up points on the Titans. The Titans defense is not very good. Obviously, the injuries to A.J. Brown and Julio Jones have hurt the offense. I don't know if anybody can slow down Derrick Henry based on what he's doing right now, but I don't see anybody stopping this Bills offense. I think that Tennessee's been a major disappointment this year. I don't know if they've figured out who they are yet, which is surprising for a team that had such high expectations coming in, but we know who the Bills are, and I think that they take it pretty easily given the 5.5.
I'm sorry. I'm with you again here. Your point. The Titans defense stinks. The Bills are playing tremendous football, both not only offensively, defensively. What they did to Patrick Mahomes and that Chiefs offense, limiting them to 20 points, forcing 3 turnovers is huge. To your point, injuries have really kind of hurt the Titans offense. I'm not a believer in Tennessee anyway. This is kind of, I want to say a little bit biased, but I just feel like they're sort of frauds. Like everyone, Tennessee, because that's still that big run they had 2 years ago. They're really not this football team that kind of blows you away. They have holes defensively, offensive line. Ryan Tannehill still, I think, is not a guy that has shown he can really win you a game with his arm. I'm with you. Buffalo goes into Tennessee, covers the 5.5 points. They win outright as well. Upset special time, Greg. This is where you truly make your move here in the standings. Any team, you could pick underdog 5, spread of 5 or higher. You get a cover, 1 bonus point. You get an outright win. You get 2 bonus points, either in the NFL or college football. Any game you want. Where are you going?
You're not going to like this, and I did not pick this out of disrespect. I didn't even notice it until now, the connection.
Wow.
Texans +10 in Indianapolis. Not that I'm dying to see that matchup. I'm really not. I know that Carson Wentz is a very popular streaming option this week for fantasy purposes. And
look at you, streaming option.
And I don't think that the
fantasy nuggets.
I don't think the Texans are good. But do I think that they can keep up with the Colts given that spread of 10? as my upset pick, that's what I'm going to go with. And again, too, let's not forget, playing close with the Patriots last week. I know that they gave that game away down the stretch there. New England had to come back to win, but I don't see the Colts as being that much more challenging or trickier than the Pats. So I'm going to take Houston plus 10.
The Texans have been, even on their 1-4 record, I feel like surprisingly competitive this year. Like, I thought they would be one of the worst teams, not the worst team in the NFL, maybe even go 0-17 with how bad this roster is. They've played hard. That is the one thing. They have played hard. I can't lie. I'm a little nervous about that game. I absolutely, and that's a big, big number. I like where your brain is at. I will go back into the college ranks. I'll go back to a game we kind of talked a little bit earlier. Texas A&M coming off that massive upset over Alabama. They are now going on the road at Missouri. Now, Missouri is getting 9 points at home. This is a noon kickoff, 11 a.m. local time kick. College football, those early kicks, it's always kind of wackiness. You never really know what you're dealing with there. Not to mention emotional letdown coming off that massive win. And Missouri can score. Missouri, no matter what, you say what the defense say about the record, they can put up points and score with anyone. So A&M's defense is really good. They did I don't say they shut down Alabama. They did a decent job. They got turnovers. They got some big plays when they needed to in that 41-38 win. I'll go Missouri, 9 points at home in an early local kick, coming off facing an A&M team, coming off a massive, massive victory there. Fingers crossed. Hey, we'll get a little upset college football craziness and we'll get an outright win. But hopefully at least going here for the cover, Missouri plus 9. You're going Houston Texans plus 10, taking on the Colts. So we're both in agreement on the Bills minus 5.5 at the Titans. You're taking the Cardinals plus 3. I'll take the Browns minus 3. You're on the Ravens minus 3. I'm on the Chargers plus 3. Both on Oklahoma State plus 5.5 at Texas. You're on Kentucky plus 23. I'm on Georgia minus 23. Greg, man, appreciate the time. Cannot wait to hear some of your big calls coming up forward here. Hopefully we'll be able to dissect some of your calls on an Eli Gold-like stage. But unlike Eli, you will, I'm sure, will give great analysis and not silence for a big moment. We appreciate the time, man.
Anytime, my friend. Love to do this with you again. Doesn't even have to be a pick segment. If you ever just want to chop it up, we always have a good time. We always laugh, and we'll hopefully do it again soon.
Absolutely. Greg, man, yeah, we'll definitely do it again. That was a lot of fun. We appreciate the time. Thanks, man.
Anytime, kid. We'll talk soon.
Later. That is the great Greg Caserta joining us. Best of luck to Greg on his picks. When we do return here on the Ryan Hickey Show, a few lessons I think we need to learn from in college football this week that we have. I'll tell you two that I think we already learned. One big lesson and coming up for sure. I'll tell you what those lessons are in college football when the Ryan Hickey Show does return on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Of course my kid's in the right car seat. Well, I think he is.
Yeah, my kid's in a booster seat. He was ready to move up. He is ready, right?
Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing. I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know. Know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
This is Nnamdi Asamoah. I play football for the Philadelphia Eagles, but what I do off the field with United Way might be more important. I'm a volunteer tutor and mentor. Why? Because over 1 million kids a year drop out of school, and that's not okay. It takes 12 years to create a graduate, but it takes about the same time to create a dropout. And the difference between a child becoming one or the other could be me, or it could be you. Studies show that if we get to these kids earlier, their chances are better. And kids who read well by 3rd grade are more likely to graduate. So join me in United Way. Suit up and take the pledge. Become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor. Because when a child succeeds, we all succeed. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Take the pledge at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way, the Ad Council, and the National Football League.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome back into the Ryan Hickey Show with you right here. We appreciate Greg Caserta for not only coming on, giving us some of his picks for the college and NFL week number 6 upcoming here, but also giving us some play-by-play, giving us a little taste of what he would do on the mic. And unlike the Alabama radio broadcast that was dead silence as the kick goes through, Greg would give a little passion, a little illustration to the fans on the radio that cannot see that the kick went in. So we appreciate Greg giving us some professional tips and also some picks. We'll post those on social media as well, and hopefully we'll see if we can catch Joe Pidell, the current leader in the clubhouse and Hickey's Pickies, sitting at 4-1 on the season. So in college football this weekend, it's not exactly a murderer's row slate, right? There's really the best game of the weekend so far on paper in terms of rankings matchup is Kentucky and Georgia. We just mentioned before in the picks, the spread is 23 in that game. So there's really not a lot of close games to be played. So I figured this week could be a good time to go back to school. Because this week, I think so far in college football taught us a few lessons that we could take with us for the rest of the college football season. Lesson number 1, I think, is a lesson that we all could learn in life. We learned it through Lincoln Riley in Oklahoma this week, but I think it's a lesson we all could take away. And that is that it's better to tell the truth than to lie. The truth will always set you free, and that's true. The reason that lesson was learned this week is because right now, Lincoln Riley has refused to tell the truth about who will be quarterback this week when the Sooners go up against TCU. He has really kind of created almost, I don't say a firestorm, but a bigger mess by trying to keep the quarterback under wraps, hush, hush, but who's going to start, instead of just coming out on Monday or Tuesday and naming the starting quarterback. For me, it's going to be Caleb Williams. There's really no doubt in my mind it's going to be Caleb Williams that's going to be starting for the Sooners against TCU. Then you really, after the spark he provided, after you truly see the change in the team, not just offensively, where he was attacking the ball down the field, bringing his spark to an offense that was stagnant and stale with Spencer Rattler's QB for the first 5.5 games of the season, he also had the defense respond to him. They were getting more stops. In the second half, they played a lot better, a lot more ferocious, a lot more aggressive than they did in the first half. For me, it's really not even a debate. It's not even a talking point, because it's going to be Caleb Williams. I think everyone on the team knows it. Caleb Williams knows it. Spencer Rattler knows it. Lincoln Riley knows it. But the thing, though, is that he is now serving as an even bigger distraction by not naming the starter than he was, or than he would be if he did name the starter. Think about it. He now has canceled media availability the rest of the week because after failing to name a starter on Tuesday, he was outed by, of all places, a student newspaper who, credit to them, this is genius, went to a public building on campus near the football practice facility, got up high enough where they were able to overlook and get a sight of the practice field and scouted how many first-team reps Caleb Williams took compared to Spencer Rattler. So you have students perching out on school buildings, looking at practice, scouting and finding out that Caleb Williams took more first-team reps than Spencer Rattler and kind of indicated, yeah, he took a lot of the reps. It seems like Caleb Williams is going to be the starter. Ever since Lincoln Riley found out that report, what did he do? Cancel immediate availability. Shut his program down. That to me is not the way you handle it. You're now causing a bigger distraction. You're not causing more chaos and more drama by not naming a starter and then trying to get mad when people find out who's taking first-team reps than you would if they just came out and said, guys, Caleb's our starter. He's going to be the starter for this week. We haven't closed the book on Spencer Rattler. He still can bring a lot to this team. But we're going to roll with Caleb right now and see how it goes. I understand Lincoln Riley's in an impossible situation in part because with the transfer portal, with NIL, there is so much now to the riding to the point if you're not the starting quarterback, you're not going to stay. We saw Kelly Bryant a few years ago at Clemson lose the starting job to Trevor Lawrence. It was within the first 4 games, which remember in college football now, you can redshirt up to 4 games. So if you don't play in more than 4 games, you can basically have that year back as a redshirt. Kelly Bryant said, okay, I'm leaving. And he left because he still had that ability to redshirt that season and left when Trevor Lawrence was named the starting quarterback. So I get why Lincoln Riley, in one sense, is worried about Spencer Rattler leaving because one injury to Caleb Williams, or maybe he doesn't play as well as in the second half. All of a sudden, you need Spencer Rattler, but because you maybe announced Caleb Williams as a starter, he's out of the program. He left. But you got to do what's best for the team. I think now for Oklahoma, who still has all their eyes set on the college football playoff, still has the path wide open to get there, you got to eliminate as many distractions as possible. I think now this is a major distraction by trying to hide and keep your quarterback under wraps than it would be if you just came out and openly said, yeah, guys, Caleb's a starter this week. That's who we're going with. This causes more of a distraction than eliminating one. That's why the lesson learned here, tell them the truth. It sets you free. It causes less drama than trying to lie and cover up your tracks. Lincoln Riley learning that the hard way. Lesson number 2, I think we learned in college football this week. Know what you're talking about before speaking. Again, this is a life lesson that could be learned and brought about throughout all of society, not just in college football, but in all of life. Yours truly, as someone who talks for a living, I got to know what I'm talking about before I talk to you. And this week, I don't think, to be honest, Kirk Ferentz knows what he's talking about when he's trying to continuously call out Penn State for faking injuries. I still can't believe this is a storyline coming out of this game, but it is. Going back to Saturday, Penn State against Iowa, a lot of Penn State players got hurt. A lot of them. Sean Clifford, unfortunately, they're very talented defensive tackle. PJ Mustipher out for the season, but Mustipher left early on in the game, wasn't able to come back. Sean Clifford, as we know, left early in the game, wasn't able to come back. A lot of other Penn State injuries they suffered with a few guys unable to come back. And the story is not that Penn State players got hurt. That's football. The story is, though, is that when they were on the ground getting tended to, the Iowa fans were booing. They thought Penn State was faking it. So after the game, James Franklin was very upset and basically said, why would you be booing? That he had a problem with that. They're not faking injuries. And then Kirk Ferentz added fuel to the fire and saying that basically he believes the fans were right. He believes the fans thought that the Penn State was faking injuries. Basically, he believes it. Kirk Ferentz, the Iowa head coach, is basically saying that Penn State players were faking injuries during the game on Saturday to throw Iowa off of their offensive momentum. So let's use our brains here and think for a second, why would Penn State fake injuries? Iowa scored 23 points. For basically 3/4 of the game, Iowa's offense could do nothing. They had 2 drives where they scored touchdowns, and now it was all field goals the rest of the way. Iowa offensively was inept for most of the game. Penn State's defense was dominating. But let's think about it logically. Why would you fake injuries? Why would you go down if you're not really hurt? Well, the goal is, right, is to slow the other team down. Because let's not forget, if you're a good player and you go down, quote unquote, hurt if you're faking it, you still got to miss at least one play. So you're not really doing the offense or your defense a benefit if you're hurt, if you're a good player, because you're taking yourself off the field and really hurting your defense more than you're helping it. But again, the main reason why you fake injuries is in order to slow a high-tempo offense down. If they're moving the ball, if they go, run really quick, they're getting big chunk plays, they're gashing the defense. Sure, there have been other programs that have, said, hey, take a knee, take a dive. Oh, coach, my leg hurts, and then you're back a play or two later. So Iowa thinks Penn State was doing this. They were fake injuries to slow down Iowa's tempo. The thing, though, that Iowa doesn't really realize is that in order for teams to fake injuries, you have to have tempo on offense. You got to be moving quick. You got to be snapping the ball at 10, 15 seconds when the ball's put down. Go and no-huddle offense, ripping off big chunks. The thing, though, is that Iowa's offense is the opposite of tempo. They are slower than molasses. And this is not just me as a Penn State fan saying this. The numbers, the objective numbers bear this out. If you look at the plays, Penn State ran a total of 79 offensive plays in the game. Iowa, on the flip side, ran 76 plays in the game. So Penn State ran 3 more plays offensively than Iowa did. Why is that important? It's important because Iowa had the ball for 11 minutes longer. So despite running 3 less plays, Iowa had the ball for 3 minutes longer. What does that tell you? That should tell you that despite running less plays, Iowa took more time in between snaps than Penn State did. So again, if Iowa isn't running a high-octane Oregon-like system where you're running plays every 20 seconds and your defense is just gassed, why would you fake injuries if your offense is huddling? The huddle, in theory, breaks up the offensive momentum. There's no reason to fake an injury because to fake an injury, you're trying to give the defense a rest. You're trying to catch your breath. You're doing so because I was huddling every play and taking almost the entire 40-second play clock to run a play. So you can run a play for 6 seconds, then you have 40 seconds to take a deep breath and reset. That's what I don't get here. That's what I don't get Iowa, whether it's their fans, whether it's Kirk Ferentz basically encouraging the fans and backing the fans and basically calling Penn State out that they were faking injuries. I don't understand the logic. I don't understand why Penn State be motivated to fake injuries. Not to mention, I'll say this. I don't think this is salted it's coming from me. I think this is just objective. You watch that Penn State-Iowa game. Penn State was on the verge of blowing Iowa out if Sean Clifford didn't get hurt. Injuries are part of the game. He got hurt. Iowa came back and won. Credit to them. They won the game. But that game completely changed when Penn State's quarterback went out of the game. Iowa right now, with the way they're talking, with the way their offense is one of the worst in college football. And again, look at the numbers. Total offense. They came into this game ranked 119th in total offense in college football. They are writing checks that I think they won't be able to cash. If you talk a big game like you do, you got to back it up. And while they don't play another big game in the regular season, whoever they play in the Big Ten title game, whether it's Ohio State, whether it's Michigan, whether they see Penn State again, they better be ready to cash these checks they're writing now and calling Penn State out. This is a dangerous game I wouldn't play if I was Iowa. You got the win. You should feel, in all honesty, lucky to get the win again. You're down 17-3 when the starting quarterback for Penn State goes out in the first half. That great defense you want to talk about, they got 2 picks. Absolutely. They also let Penn State go up and down the field 3 different times early on. The Iowa offense was inept. I don't want to say you got lucky, but you got lucky to win the game. Don't now try to boast out your chest and try to call out Penn State, an opponent you just beat, for trying to pull moves that, again, statistically just don't make sense because you've held the ball for 11 minutes longer than Penn State despite running 3 less plays, which indicates you hold the ball in between snaps for way longer than Penn State. You're not running up-tempo offense, which means there's no reason to fake injuries. I digress. Iowa better watch out. And Kirk Ferentz better know what he's talking about before he's speaking. It makes no sense. And that's why I just don't get why Iowa's continuing to kind of buy into this narrative, but they are. Watch out if you're Iowa. Watch out. Finally, those are 2 life lessons, right? Know what you're talking about before speaking, which I don't think Kirk Ferentz knows what he's talking about. Better to tell the truth than to lie. The truth sets you free. Lincoln Riley's learned it the hard way. I think we will, though, learn a lesson in college football this weekend on the field about whether 2 surprise teams in college football this year are legit, are truly as good as their rankings say they are. Number 12, Oklahoma State. Number 10, Michigan State. We talked about it with just Greg before in Hickey's Pickies. Number 12, Oklahoma State taking on number 25, Texas. The Pokes this year have been a very weird team. They have impressive wins over Boise State on the road, Kansas State, and Baylor. They're undefeated. But again, they're doing so winning very close games. They're doing so with their defense. Like offensively, we are used to the high-flying Mike Gundy, all offense, no defense system. And we expected that to be the case again. They have Spencer Sanders. They're a very talented quarterback returning. They lost some key additions, whether it's running back, whether it's receiver. But they were still expected to be able to light it up offensively. They have yet to score more than 31 points in a game, which for Oklahoma State is low. That's a low bar to clear offensively. They usually clear that easily. They have yet to score more than 31 points, but defensively, a team that's been a sieve, a team that's, classic Big 12 defense, unable to stop anyone, they haven't allowed more than 23 points in a game. So personally, I know they're ranked number 12. They're undefeated. They still have Texas, they play Texas this week. They still have Oklahoma, towards the end of the season. This is a game where I want to find out if Oklahoma State's truly good or not. I don't know. I'm picking Oklahoma State to win. So I think they're a better team than not. But I am fascinated to see how they play on the road against the Texas team coming off just a humiliating and depressing defeat to Oklahoma. This is a great test for Oklahoma State to kind of truly see what kind of team they are, to give us an insight. If you're, looking at the Big 12 playoff-wise, will Oklahoma have another test this season? A team we really circled and thought this would be a big-time challenge for them in Iowa State has been awful this year. Texas, they just had that massive comeback against. Can Oklahoma State push the Sooners? Or is this going to be another cakewalk for Oklahoma towards the Big 12 title game? This game, I think, will tell us how tough Oklahoma's road will be going forward. I think Oklahoma State's a better team than not. I think they will win. But I'm fascinated to see. I think we'll learn if they're legit or not. And for Michigan State, they have been another big surprise this year. Nowhere. Forget just being ranked. Forget being in the top. I didn't think they would be in the top 10. They have been tremendous this year, in part because their transfer running back, Kenneth Walker III. He's been a revelation. This guy is leading all of college football in rushing yards with 913 so far through the first 6 games of the season. He has been unstoppable. He's opened up the passing game for Peyton Thorne. Now when the running game is so elite, teams sell out to stop the run. That has opened up the passing game for Thorne. Has helped really have some balance to Michigan State. Mel Tucker's done a great job in year number 2 where, the Mel Tucker era, last year getting started with a blowout loss to Rutgers at home, did not exactly get off to an endorsing start. Rest of it really doesn't make sense. Endorsing start. Did not get out to a promising start. How about that? We'll actually use real words here on the Ryan Hickey Show. But now you have a great feel-good story so far in Michigan State, who have impressive wins over the road at Miami, blew the doors off Northwestern. It's not very good, but to start the season where you don't really know how both teams are, impressive win. This is a tricky game they have at Indiana. I get Indiana is unranked. They're not very good. They lost to Cincinnati. They lost to Iowa. They lost to Penn State. This is, though, a scrappy, tough Indiana team. They take over the identity of their head coach in Tom Allen. This is not exactly a game that's going to be a rollover. Despite the fact that Indiana's record isn't what they wanted it to be, despite the fact that Indiana came in with some high expectations coming off of last year where they had a great, great season, it's been a disappointing one. But with that said, they're not going to roll over and die. They see this opportunity to ruin Michigan State's season. Hey, if we can't be in contention, neither can you. I think this is a game that it's going to be a very tricky test for Michigan State on the road at Indiana. Tough, feisty, scrappy group the Hoosiers are. I think this is a nice, impressive way for Michigan State to either cement themselves as a true contender or kind of reveal and expose the cracks that are there that have just benefited from beating up a weaker schedule because they still have the big games in front of them: Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State. This is a good test, I think, to see and take the temperature of how good Michigan State is on the road at Indiana. So I think we'll learn a lesson. Is Oklahoma State legit on the road at number 25, Texas? Is Michigan State a legitimate contender on the road at Indiana? I think both those teams will win, but I'm fascinated to see how they play in tough environments and tricky situations here with two teams that we did not see being number 12 and number 10 in the country, respectively. So that'll do it for this edition of the Ryan Hickey Show. Make sure you're always following us, whether it's on Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network, Twitter, WWSRN_radio. You can tweet me directly at Ryan Hickey Show, YouTube, Worldwide Sports Network, and of course on our app, WWSRN for iPhone, Worldwide Sports Network for Android. We appreciate Greg Caserta for hopping on, giving us some of his picks, some of his play-by-play expertise. A lot of fun. We'll post those picks in case you missed it on social media as well. Have a great, and I mean fantastic weekend. A great NFL slate. A gorgeous weekend weather-wise set up, at least here in the Northeast. So hopefully it's nice by you as well. And after it's a great, fun, exciting weekend. We'll be back on Monday, of course, to recap all of the excitement from the weekend that was. baseball playoffs, football, college football. I'll take the Bucks tonight over the Eagles on Thursday Night Football. Enjoy the craziness. Enjoy the excitement. And we'll talk to you Monday right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.